We'll start off with South Africa.
Yeah, we're back with another political show. Today, we're going to be looking at the latest step taken by President Trump, the lowest refugee cap ever, 7,500 for the next fiscal year, is what Trump wants to put in place as a drastic cut from Biden's refugee ceiling of 125,000. And with me to discuss that is Mustafa, Kule, and Warifa.
Yeah, I think if you look at this from an economic perspective, the U.S. is going through inflation, and the U.S. empire is falling apart, and they need to cut back the numbers. I think this is what's driving this is that the U.S. economy is in bad trouble. Also, there's a right wing movement in which people don't want to see more refugees and people of color coming in because those people tend to vote for the Democrats, and it hurts the Republican Party. And third, this is white supremacists. They want to bring in more white people, white immigrants, and give them money and stuff to change the balance in the country because I think they feel that the U.S. is becoming too brown. So that's what I think. Now, I'm torn as to whether I should care as an American or as a foreigner if they want to bring in white South Africans. Personally, I don't care. Okay, but we have to remember that a lot of the refugees from are that are coming to America are from countries that America attacks and brings problems upon. So if we're going to start bringing in refugees, then we need to stop destroying other countries so that there's a need for the refugees to come. So what I'm trying to say is that if Trump wants to cut refugees, and he wants to say only whites can come in, that's racist, but it's none of my business because it's not specifically a violation against human rights. America can invite whoever they want to come in. Just like in England, if you're a white person in America, you have a better chance than if you're a black Nigerian. So that's how they want to do. But this is not for immigrants though. This is for refugees. But either way, uh, the refugee crisis, if this thing is going to stop, we have to stop bombing and making other countries unstable for that to happen. Now, as for South Africans, which our show is about, if you're a black South African and Trump is saying the whites should come there and everything, the only thing you should be angry about is the lie that they're being persecuted. But you shouldn't care if they're not letting you come in as a black person and they're only letting white people, because as we know, and it's been said a long time ago, black man, you are on your own. I say that yes, stop giving refugee status to Nigerians and to black South Africans and to people of color. You know why? Because we have to sit in our countries and make them better. So Donald Trump, you want to bring in the whites? Good, let them go. I don't have a problem with them. Let them go. You don't want to bring in black people? Cool. So now, black people, you realize you're on your own. America owes you nothing. So what you have to do is come together within your country and make sure there's no situation for refugees to leave. It's going to be hard because America's causing the problem. What are your thoughts, Kunle? Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite ironic that suddenly, when it comes to white South Africans that are in danger, suddenly Donald Trump is like, let's give them immigration status and reduce world immigration from 175 to 7,500, of which most of them are white South African refugees fleeing persecution. So this must make the assumption that anybody that Trump considers to be persecuted should be welcome. But he's not doing that for the Nigerian Christians. But that's another story for a show later on
Yeah.
today. So Trump's plan is basically a bigger plan. It's to do with the whiteness of America. He needs to
Yeah.
repopulate it. And the white Americans are not reproducing fast enough. So he needs to bring in white people from other places so they can reproduce because their numbers are dwindling because the minorities are growing. And this is a concern because America has always managed to manage control by controlling two sides, one side being pure white and the other side being the perceived diversity. If you're not white in
Okay.
state, then you're a Democrat. And that's the basic.
Okay. Oh, no, let's continue with the angle of. I know I'm speeding up because we know I'm not dissing you. You know, we know that you'll give us the 10,000 year history, but we want to get back because we don't want our fans from South Africa to say this is not about South Africa. This is about America. Let's turn off the camera. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, yes, it is about South Africa. South Africa was a colony like Israel, New Zealand, and all these other countries were.
Yeah.
It's a failed colony now because of the fact that they lost control. Because once apartheid was destroyed, that colony became a failure to them, and they're still
Yeah.
at a war to try to reclaim it back. And
Mm-hmm.
no
The
matter how
economic war
much
has just begun. Yeah, yeah,
So if you're South African, you better know that you are as black as any Negro in Africa.
yeah,
Don't deceive yourself that you think you're something special. You're just living in their house, as far as they believe. They do not believe that you're living there together. Not at the government level. No matter
uh,
how good you feel about whatever situation you're in, you're not in control of your country if it's still based on race. Um,
yeah,
and unfortunately, most of the wealth in South Africa is owned by a minority because when they came in there with funds from the West, from the
yeah,
Rothschilds and stuff. They weren't just brilliant and dug out gold and started making money. They were backed by wealth already, so they came in with wealth to build these economies. They didn't just happen to be more talented or anything like that. So these are colonies. So as a South African, you should not forget that.
yeah. And I agree. So, what would you say? I don't think we should focus so much on South Africans or Africans being angry about Trump being racist towards people who want to come as refugees, because we have to remember ultimately America is a white supremacist nation from its fun setting, so you shouldn't expect America to be anything other than that. And I think everybody has to come to the realization that America is not a democratic country. It's an empire with the facade of democracy which hates black people. So if you're a refugee, I think there are better places in the world you should go to than the US, maybe Spain or Portugal. And I'm not saying those people are good, but you right now they have better receptivity towards people from Africa. Maybe if you can go to Spain, like Yamal's children can, you can become a world-class footballer at least. You understand what I'm saying? If you come to America as a black,
I
if you
understand.
come to America as a black person, as a refugee, I promise you, 9 times out of 10, you're going to become a drug dealer when you get here, because that's the job
Yeah.
they'll have waiting for you. What are your thoughts on that, Kule, before we go to Warif? Last
Yeah,
thought.
I mean, you can forgive a lot of people for their misunderstanding of how the propaganda of Western politics controls their minds and
Yeah,
the way they think, whether they be white Americans or Black South Africans,
yeah,
many of whom are on the same suffering side because it's not white versus Black.
yeah.
It's really actually rich versus poor.
That's it.
And
Yeah,
until people
they're
realize that, they're never going to get past it.
look, there are a lot of white South Africans that I know personally that say, "Oh boy, I need $5 now." I'm serious. White South Africans that I've known that I've had to send things to them. Well, everybody is suffering in Africa. But one thing I would, black South Africans don't want to go to the U.S. anyway. Do you see what I'm saying? They don't. And one thing I know about black South Africans, you don't even like the continent of Africa. You don't like America. You don't like anything. You only like yourself. That's an insult, but it's also a compliment. Black South Africans are very nationalistic and are isolationists. They don't want to have anything else to do with the rest of the world. So I don't think this is a big problem for them. Let the whites go. But what's not fair is that when the whites have dismantled that country and now under democracy is not doing well, they have the option of just jumping off ship. So they have the option of leaving from the problem they started. What do you think, Mr. Warif?
One word, oh, sorry, one word is
Yeah.
their productivity that matters.
Oh, no, let Kule go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Kule. Go ahead quickly.
Yeah, I was just going to say with South African people, it's about more about their productivity that matters right now, and
Yeah,
not really about.
yeah, the Trump thing. All right, good one. Okay, thanks. What are your thoughts, Mr. Warif?
Okay, I was just thinking when I saw the whole issue about Trump giving preference to white
You were
South
still
African
celebrating. You were still celebrating Arsenal winning. Go ahead.
Okay, so I was just asking myself some questions. Is it about Trump or about the Constitution, or any president can just come and make his own rule or whatever? Now, if Trump wants to give preference to the white South African refugees, I don't have issue with that. But you ask yourself, why white? Is it that the blacks are a threat to the whites in America, or the whites, the blacks, they are corrupt or whatever? So him not
No.
allowing the blacks, he's not being fair to the human race. That means he's causing
Yeah,
division among human race. People begin to ask themselves questions, and you bring enmity between himself and the black race. And one other thing again, if the African leaders they do what they're supposed to do, because I know Africa as a whole, the continent and the countries in Africa, they have so many resources. If we can do what we are supposed to do the right thing, I don't see any reason why Donald Trump will make this type of comment preferring this race to the other one.
Yeah,
So I think.
Go ahead. Sorry,
I think the South Africa and not just South African leaders, but the black race, mostly Africans, they should sit down and try and do the right thing, not giving room for such type of comment, because to me it's a letdown. So why would he prefer this to this? He's not being fair to human race as a whole.
So it's the same thing in the U.S. In the U.S. in the 1960s, the banks on purposely devalued the property of black people, and then they inflated the value of the property of white people. And the banks would give loans to white and not to blacks. And then the whites left the inner city. So what they did was they devalued the inner city. So the blacks were forced to become drug dealers. Then when they become drug dealers, you're evil, you're bad. That's a form of gaslighting. You take away opportunities for people. Then when they become criminal, in the U.S., they put 25 years if you sell crack because they know black people sell it. 2 years if you sell powder cocaine because they know that's a drug that white people use. So they make the laws uneven. And then when they make the laws uneven, it's like, okay, you know what it is like? It's like me saying that you have to go to court. Let's say I arrest you, Mr. Warif, and I say you have to go to court, but then I give you a balloon to wear, balloon for trousers with no belt. And then the judge said, look at you, you dirty man. You're wearing oversized. That's what the Germans did to the Germans did that when they would try people, when Hitler was trying people for killing him. They give them dirty clothes and they say, you're dirty and you came to my court like this. How dare you? So same thing, Africa has been punished by the U.S., all of our resources. Then when we come now Trump would say we can't bring these guys because they're desperate and they're poor and they're anti-American. We have to bring the whites because they work harder, which it may be true as far as circumstance, but the moral judgment is off. So you're right about that. But I think what you're saying is right. In African countries like in Nigeria where we do 419, we make it harder for ourselves to get visas and stuff. And the white people just use that as an excuse. It's not that they really think we're 419, but we've given them an excuse to ban us and things like that, which isn't fair. What are your thoughts on Falabi?
Yeah, I think I quite agree with you, but I'd blame the black South Africans in the sense that if you look at black leadership in South Africa, they've done very little to better the lot of the black South Africans, and they should be held accountable, really. If you look at the likes of Ramaphosa and Malema, who stood for ANC values, I mean, the wealth is skewed towards the white South Africans, and they are more admissible as refugees than even the black South Africans.
But we have to remember, Malema's not ANC, he's EFF, but he also has corruption issues. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically what I'm saying is that if the blacks were admitted into the US, they would buy guns and do drugs and end up killing themselves. That still helps America anyway. They get purged of black people. But if you look at it, Trump he admitted the refugees as a retaliatory way against Ramaphosa because of the fact that they said that the land was not well, apportioned, which was a lie anyway. The land sharing still favors the white. Now he sees he doesn't have resources to admit the number he wanted to admit before, and now he's cut it down. So I think, like you guys rightly mentioned, they just want to depopulate America of any black person first and
bring
foremost.
white.
Any white person. So we as Africans should stand up for ourselves and make sure that we hold our leaders accountable to the extent that they can develop us and we can stay in our countries and make the best use of the opportunities we have. We don't have to start junketing up and down for opportunities, really.
Yeah, and so if I were a black South African, we know that it's false. There's no genocide of whites in South Africa. We know that there's violence.
It was just a lie. It was a lie.
There's black on white violence, there's black on black violence, there's white on. So there's violence in South Africa, but there's no genocide. It's just caused by the economic situation. So if I were there, I wouldn't be focused on what Trump is saying. I would be focused on holding, like you said, the ANC accountable. Before people start feeling, I know a lot of black South Africans now who say they want to vote for the DA, and I don't have an argument against that one. I don't have an argument. Last thoughts on all of this, Kunle?
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate the situation that's going on in South Africa with Trump's desires. But you shouldn't really blame Trump. It's part of a bigger plan. And I think that even the opposition, albeit within politics, is fake. I also think that there's a growing disengagement between the government and the way people feel about certain things in the government. And they're beginning to become disengaged from their politicians, increasingly so. It goes all back to Israel lobby. I don't want to go into that right now, but it goes back into not voting for a certain
your favorite pet,
Israel lobby. You know, they have to vote them out. Take
It's
back
because of
control
Israel
of
lobby
power.
that Nigeria didn't qualify for World Cup. I'm just kidding.
You know, well, we're still qualifying. You never know.
Yeah, I'm just
But
joking.
all these things, it's comical, and I keep saying it, but it keeps coming back to that. But then again, this is a white supremacy issue, which does not always have everything to do with the Israel lobby, because MAGA also has white supremacy tendencies,
Yeah.
even though they're not like that.
I
So,
think the Israel lobby is more for the empire, the U.S. empire, and the banking system.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And remember that even now, even 100, even 70 years ago, Europe was fighting itself, talk less than 300 years ago.
Yeah.
They've always been killing each other right up until present day. They've never stopped killing each other.
Yeah.
So there's this but there is this genuine fear about the reducing population of white America, and that is why these policies are being so strongly directed at South Africans. I believe the white South Africans also have a higher birth rate amongst the white
What are they
population.
doing? Elon Musk has 14 children, and Elon Musk has 14 children, and he's promoting the white people. He says that white people should procreate, and poor people, which means black people, shouldn't. So yeah, go ahead.
They have a slightly more disciplined family structure. I
Oh
think
yeah,
they're
very
still
different.
westernized,
In
but I
fact,
think
I
that
always say that the Afrikaans, they don't even like the British in South Africa. The Afrikaans are like an African tribe. They're like the white version of the Zulus. They stick
yeah,
together and work hard. White Igbos or
yeah.
something. Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
they still have strong family values, which is the ground basis work for having a strong economy that makes sure that your population is vibrant and growing. And this is
Yeah.
something that a lot of other Western countries are not having amongst their white populations. So for
Kunle,
him, South
in
African
20
whites
years,
are like hotcakes.
in 20 years, you'll be looking at the U.S. president, President Vandervoot.
You know,
President
you
Vandervoot.
know, I'm only looking at it from the white supremacist side.
Yeah, yeah, that's the main thing. Yeah,
So it's the attraction of that, and also the attraction of removing minorities. That's
yeah.
also why they're trying to improve relations with Argentina, because Argentina managed to successfully wipe out or deport or remove all its blacks. Because
Yeah,
150
and even
years ago,
all of it's Latin-looking people too. They look like they're Spanish, purely Spanish.
yes,
They're black
the
and they're
population of Argentina it was majority black 150 years ago. I didn't know that.
oh
Argentina
yeah,
was mostly black,
it
and
looked
then
like
it
Colombia and
gradually
Brazil.
became equal and less. So
Yeah,
and also was the haven where the Nazis ran to. So that's why I noticed that the relations have improved there. Look at Japan. Relations have improved in Japan with a prime minister who wants to stop any further immigration of foreigners into her country. Look at India with Modi. Modi is also very is very Islamophobic. They're all banding together, all these far right nationalists, I hate outsider type of governments.
yeah.
And I'm trying to keep my race pure. They all have these indices the same. Only Japan is where the race is obviously not the same race. They're Mongols, they're not
Okay,
Caucasians, whatever. But apart
all
from
right,
that, the other ones have the same foundation.
all right. So we'll move on. So yeah, it's clear that this is a white supremacist movement, and also the U.S. economy can't have as many people coming in. So we'll move on from there. Okay.